What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to Sports Behind Show. In this video, I want to be doing my power rankings in the NFC West as we get closer to the 2022 regular season. The NFC West consists of the Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, and Rams. So let's go ahead and get started here. My fourth team here in the NFC West is the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle last season was 7-10, and they had some major departures in the offseason. They lost Bobby Wagner to the LA Rams. Wagner had 170 tackles last year. He's had 6 straight seasons with 133 tackles. He's been the heart and soul of the Seattle defense for a long time, and that's a significant blow to the Seattle team. Obviously, their major blockbuster move in the offseason was trading Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. Looking at Russell Wilson, he's been a phenomenal quarterback. He's been one of the best quarterbacks ever since he stepped foot in the league. They traded him to Denver, and they got multiple first-round picks. They got Drew Lock and Noah Fant. Looking at this trade here, I just don't get why Seattle would choose Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson. I think Pete Carroll is probably only going to be coaching a couple more years as opposed to Russell Wilson, who I think could play 5 or 6 more years in the league. It really makes no sense to me. When you look at this trade here, like I said, they got Noah Fant, and they lost Gerald Everett in the offseason. And Noah Fant, to me, I think is an upgrade over, Gerald Everett. Last season, Fant had over 65 receptions, over 650 yards, and 4 touchdowns last year for Denver. And then, like I said, they also traded to get Drew Lock. Drew Lock, to me, has shown potential at times, but other times he just looks like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And if Drew Lock was unable to have a successful career with the Denver Broncos, I definitely do not think he's going to be successful with Seattle. Because when you look at the Broncos, they've had a decent offensive line, lots of weapons to throw the ball to. Seattle does not have as many weapons compared to Denver, and they do not have a nearly as good as an offensive line as Denver does. Lock is 8-13 as a starter. For Denver, he had 25 passing touchdowns and 20 interceptions. His completion percentage is 59%, and he's thrown just over 4,700 yards in that span for Denver. My third team here on the NFC West Power Rankings is the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals lost to the Rams in the wild card game last season, 34-11. When you look at this Cardinals team, lots of people think they could maybe take the next step. I personally don't really see it. They lost Chandler Jones in the offseason to the Las Vegas Raiders. He had 10.5 sacks last season. Chandler Jones is one of the most underrated defensive players in the league. When you look at some of these other players here, they lost Jordan Hicks to the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Hicks has been extremely underrated for this Arizona Cardinals defense these last couple of years. He's had at least 116 tackles each of the last 3 seasons, and they lost Christian Kirk, in the offseason to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think Christian Kirk will be a significant blow to this Arizona Cardinals team, but when you look at it, Kirk did have career yards last year and receptions for Arizona. They did trade for Marquise Brown in the offseason. Marquise Brown had a career year last year for Baltimore. He had over 90 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. So Brown kind of replaces the absence of Christian Kirk. But to me, I still don't really love, the Cardinals as we head into the 2022 season. But something to look at here, I mentioned Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown played with Kyler Murray in college, so that's a nice connection there. They already kind of have some chemistry. It should be interesting with the Cardinals this upcoming season. Number 2 team on my NFC West Power Rankings is the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers were 10-7 last year and lost to the LA Rams in the NFC Championship game, 20-17. And it's so crazy to me. We're talking about, a new quarterback going to take over for San Francisco and Trey Lance. When you look at it, take a couple plays, differently, the 49ers could have been in the Super Bowl last year, and now they're having a completely new starter this upcoming season. They lost Laken Tomlinson to the Jets in the offseason. They also lost Mostert to the Miami Dolphins. Lance, like I said, he's going to be the starter for the 49ers. He's played 6 games last year. He had 2 starts. He was 1-1 as a starter. His completion percentage was 57%. He threw for 600 yards. He threw for 5 passing touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He also had 170 rushing yards and a touchdown as well. When you look at this 49ers team, I know they have a new starting quarterback, but I'm still going to put them ahead of the Cardinals because I definitely trust this 49ers coaching staff more than I do Cliff Kingsbury, who has just been very inconsistent, ever since he stepped foot into the league. But to me, I'm definitely putting the 49ers above the Cardinals in all, NFC West power rankings as we get close to 2022 season. Obviously, number 1 on my NFC West power rankings is going to be the LA Rams. The Rams were 12-5 last season and ended up winning the Super Bowl against Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. And they did lose some, key contributors to last season. They lost Von Miller. He signed with the Bills. They lost Austin Corbett. He signed with the Carolina Panthers. And they also traded Robert Woods to the Tennessee Titans. To me, that was very interesting because I thought Robert Woods last year in the games that he played was very, very good for the LA Rams. I expect Woods to be great this season for Tennessee. But like I said, earlier, they did have some huge, signings. They signed Bobby Wagner, like I said, had 170 tackles last year. He's had 133 tackles each of the last 5-6 seasons. One of the best linebackers in the NFL and has a lot to be a Hall of Famer. And, they also signed Allen Robinson, kind of replacing the absence of Robert Woods. But to me, I'd rather have Robert Woods than Allen Robinson, in my opinion. But the Rams are definitely the best team as we head into the 2022 regular season in the NFC West. So my power rankings in the NFC West, number 4 is the Seattle Seahawks. Number 3 is the Arizona Cardinals. Number 2 is the San Francisco 49ers. And number 1 is the LA Rams. Now, let me know what you think of this, rankings in the comments. Comment your NFC West power rankings in the comments below. That about does it for this video. If you're new to the channel or if you've seen my videos before, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you all next time on the Sports Studio Hines Show.